50. Put a blindfold on your eyes before you leave. Walk to your seat, but don't be alarmed. Nobody will block you. Sit in your chair, and you'll feel that 10 minutes have passed. You'll know because it'll feel like 20 minutes. Invite them in. If it happens that you do not want to go through the game, then go back to bed without taking off your blindfold. If you wait longer than 10 minutes, they'll be offended and enter anyways. Don't let them enter on their own accord. If you take off your blindfold, it's a signal of fear. They like your fear. You don't want them to like your fear. If it happens that you want to play, well, stay calm and say calmly but firmly, come in and be obedient. And they'll come in. Now, they're your guests, they're yours to entertain, so be polite. Be mindful of your manners, but don't remove the blindfold. Trust me, you do not want to see them. Be very specific of what you want them to do, and they'll do exactly what you do. And what you don't want them to do, but do not tell them to. Do not. Before anything else, tell them your rules. Remember, you are their host, and they won't disobey you. Be very specific. Tell them how you expect them to act. Tell them if they are or are not allowed to touch you. Tell them what they cannot touch in the room. Tell them where they can go. They're like children. Instruct them with extreme precision. You may tell them to sit, and they'll sit, and you'll know when they're seated. You may ask them questions, and they may lie to you. And of course, you won't know if they're lying. You may ask them to knock on walls, and they'll knock, and you will hear them knocking. As will anyone else in the house. The other person may wake up from the knocking. If she or he does, pray that whatever pain comes to you will be swift. You may ask them of your future. They won't know, and they will not tell you. Now, you may do anything, but you may not cross their lines. You will know when you are crossing their lines. If you wish to ask them something, and you feel even the slightest hint of something wrong, don't ask it. And don't even mention it. The moment you cross their lines, remember, you're dead. Remember to never take off your blindfold. They'll ask you to, and they'll even beg you to. Hell, some will even try to force you with the sweetest tongues or the harshest tones. But no matter what, do not take off your blindfold. And above all, do not be harsh with them. You're their host, after all, and they're your guests. You must never be unkindly to them. They'll see it as a threat and take care of you as seen fit. When you're done, tell them to leave as you see fit and not return unless you invite them to do so. Tell them that you enjoyed their time. They absolutely love your flattery. And you'll know when they're gone. Once again, don't take off your blindfold. You're not in the clear. When they're gone, walk back to your room and go to bed. Don't take off your blindfold. Sleep. You won't dream of anything bad. Now, you may take off your blindfold when you wake, so long as it's daylight. For the rest of your life, they will follow you, but they will never be in plain sight, and they'll never be there when you look at them. They'll always want another chance to meet you. One thing to note, though, never exceed 3 meetings. After the 3rd meeting, here's where it gets interesting. They may invite you. And the best part is, or the worst part, whatever you want to see it as, you cannot decline their invitation. Well, that was short and sweet. As far as length goes, it's a short creepypasta, but it felt just fine. I think anything more and it would have overstayed its welcome. It's a ritual pasta, so I guess the length sort of works out just fine. One thing I love here is that this throughout, there are really no demons, or, if there are, they're not specifically called demons, or it's not something satanic in nature specifically, or anything of the sort. The problem with all of that is that once you bring that in, you're really standing on a flimsy tightrope, overlooking a pit of cringe, so to speak. So your story might end up really, really good, but if you use these elements, you might end up having it really, really bad. You might have it completely backfire on you. Now, Of course, with the ritual pasta, there's look into how much is worth it and what the whole what basically is it all about, what you really have to do. And over here it just seems like a simple little ritual style game, something say similar to Bloody Mary, if you will. It's a standard game that can, except here, it can go either way, I assume. But from what it really aims to give you towards the end of it, it just ends up being bad. Again, one of the things in a ritual pasta is seeing if things are worth it. Seeing if there is a reason why you should even attempt it. Well, here are some questions can be asked to these things. They're no more intelligent or wise than anyone else, so you're really just opening yourself up to being attacked or potentially even worse, because these things will always follow you. One of the interesting things that I also liked about this is it never really mentioned any hard-to-find object. Like, you didn't need any, scorpion or some weird liver from a whale. I don't. You didn't need any weird items. It was simply just come to this place, simple time, blindfold yourself, and just be open for these things to come into your domain, so to speak. That was really it, and that's what I liked. It was simple, and it was essentially in the vein of a game. Now, of course, this is where my perspective sort of changes with the whole reward aspect. If it's just a simple style game, then I don't really think there always has to necessarily be a reward. I mean, most people just really do these things for the experience anyways. So I think in an experience, if you were to even encounter stuff like this, it could be really weird, to have something sitting in a room but not ever be able to see it. That truly is a spooky thought. And it kind of opens you up to a lot of real-life shenanigans. To say you're doing this ritual and your friends just walk in and start screwing around with you, and you're just sitting over there thinking that it's some weird paranormal entity. And ultimately, I gotta say, this creepypasta did definitely send some form of eeriness down my spine. Just to think about the whole concept, it reminds me a lot of the staircase ritual, where you're not really able to see what's happening, but the entire time it's there. And I think that's ultimately where the creepy part of it comes from, because I think the whole part is that you're just sitting there waiting for something to happen. And most importantly, you're expecting something to be there, and the whole time it is there. But of course, the real scary part is you don't know what it is. You don't even know you don't know what could happen at any given moment. And I think that's where this creepypasta and creepypastas like it shine. So it's a standard little game, but of course, with ritual pastas, I do like to ask, who here wants to do it, and let us know what happens if you do it. And what did you think of this ritual pasta? Let me know in the comment section below. This has been another episode of Ritual Pastas, part of Haunted Gaming. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. This is me, Mudahar, and I am out. About a year ago, I frequented one of those sites where people post a variety of funny pictures, videos, and all kinds of stupid internet memes. I didn't do much after school besides sitting on my computer wasting time back then. Sometimes I would browse the newest upload section of the site looking for pictures that might give me a quick laugh or smile. My internet connection was slow and laggy, so I always skipped over posts of videos, being too impatient to wait for any of them to buffer just to see some 30-second clip of a guy getting hit in the crotch or whatever. But there was this one time I made an exception. I spotted a video titled Radio Host Prank Called, which quickly captured my interest. I figured something like that was worth waiting a minute or so to watch. The video clip turned out to be audio only, for a black screen, with the entire duration just being that. I probably should have expected that, considering the post titled, did say it was a radio host. The man in the video is being prank called, who ran an internet radio show called The Real Eagle, where he apparently spent a few hours twice a week ranting about how white people were the only real Americans or other racist bullshit like that. The guy sounded kind of old, maybe in his 40s or 50s, and he talked in this low sort of grumbling tone. He also went by the alias Dusty. Not surprising that he wouldn't use his real name, considering the content of the show, but what was mainly important here was that during the last 20 minutes of every show, he would do a segment where